Welcome to the quiet cosmos, where we drift between wonder and science, where every night is a lullaby of questions, and every answer is a whisper from the stars. If you find peace in silence and awe in the unknown, then you're in the right place. Settle in, breathe deeply, and let's begin. Tonight, we fall into the shadow of the moon, not with fear, but with curiosity, not to escape the light, but to better understand its absence. This is the story of an eclipse. But more than that, it is the story of time, rhythm, illusion, and intimacy on a cosmic scale. Imagine standing in a field. It's just past noon. The sun is shining, birds are flying, and there's laughter from a child playing in the distance. And then something ancient begins to stir in the sky. First, a subtle dimming, almost like a cloud has passed, but there is no cloud. The warmth of the sun begins to soften. The shadows around you grow long and confused. The world becomes quieter. The birds stop singing. The wind stills. Even your own breath seems to hesitate. Then the stars begin to reveal themselves, not at night, but in the middle of the day. And finally, the moment of totality. The sun completely hidden behind the moon, a black hole in the sky ringed by fire. Day becomes night. And for a fleeting few minutes, Earth remembers how to pause. This is not fiction. It is the promise of the sky. And on August 12, 2025, millions will look upward and witness this moment unfold. There are few events in nature that hush an entire planet, but a solar eclipse does something unusual to the human soul. It startles our logic, awakens our ancestors, and folds time upon itself. It's not just the science that fascinates us, it's the way it feels. Why does it strike such deep, wordless awe when the moon covers the sun? Why do strangers cry beneath its shadow? Why do animals panic and humans fall silent? Perhaps because, in that moment, we glimpse the fragility of light. We are reminded that illumination is never promised, it is borrowed. And what we borrow, we must also be willing to lose, if only for a moment. Long before telescopes, before equations, before time zones and smartphones and countdowns, there were just eyes. Eyes looking up. In ancient China, an eclipse was believed to be a dragon devouring the sun. In the Inca Empire, it was a jaguar biting the sky. And in many parts of the world, it was an omen of gods at war. But what if? What if it was never a threat, only a reminder, a celestial nudge that even the brightest light must step aside now and then, that nothing, not even the sun, can burn forever without rest? Maybe that's what the eclipse is, a cosmic exhale, a reset, the breath between cycles. From a purely scientific point of view, a solar eclipse is simple geometry. The moon moves between the Earth and the sun, casting a shadow upon our world. It's mathematics, it's orbital mechanics. It's a dance choreographed over billions of years. But we are not just equations. We are not simply observers. We are participants in the theater of light. When the moon's shadow rushes across the Earth at thousands of miles per hour, it isn't just physics, it's poetry, it's emotion, it's memory and mystery and myth, all collapsing into a single, breathless moment. You don't just watch a total eclipse, you feel it in your body. The hairs on your arms rise, your heartbeat changes, time slows. And in that stillness, you remember something you didn't know you had forgotten. On August 12, 2025, the moon will pass before the sun and offer us a moment of dark clarity. Its path will stretch across parts of North America, gracing the skies of Mexico, the United States, and beyond. But this journey is not just geographical, it's emotional, it's personal. This eclipse will last only minutes, but its impression may linger for years, because every eclipse is a kind of mirror. It reveals how much we depend on the light and how deeply we're affected when it briefly disappears. It forces us to stop scrolling, stop running, stop planning, and just look upward together as one species on one planet, caught in the shadow of one tiny moon. This section is just the first step on our journey. In the coming parts of this story, we'll learn about the geometry of eclipses, the way light moves, the deep history of humans who've watched the skies and drawn meaning from darkness. We'll explore the psychology of awe, the biology of twilight, the ancient fears and modern tools that define how we prepare for something so rare. But before we go further, pause with me. Let's just stay here, beneath the memory of a shadow that has not yet arrived. Feel the breath of the cosmos pressing gently against your skin. A whisper, a hush, a gentle eclipse of everything you thought you understood. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Quiet Cosmos. If this story stirred your curiosity, if it gave your mind a place to rest, and your imagination something to wonder, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it with a fellow skygazer. The eclipse is coming, and we'll be right here to guide you through it, softly, slowly, together. Until next time, keep looking up, and rest well beneath the stars. Let's begin, not with answers, but with the question the ancients must have asked. Why does the light disappear? The sun, our eternal lantern, our clock, our warmth, suddenly dims as if something intends to block it. But it is not a god, not a dragon, not a war in heaven. It is the moon, silent, deliberate, drifting across our view like a curtain slowly pulled over a window. But why now? Why here? Why not every month? To understand the eclipse, we must step back from myth and enter the elegant world of orbital geometry, where light, shadow, and motion speak in rhythm. The Earth orbits the sun, the moon orbits the Earth. Simple enough. A cosmic waltz with two dancers and a spotlight. But the moon's orbit is not a perfect circle, nor is it perfectly flat. It is tilted by about 5 degrees. That tilt, though subtle, is everything. Because of it, the moon usually passes above or below the sun in our sky. But on rare occasions, perhaps once every 18 months, somewhere on Earth, everything lines up just right. The sun at one end, the moon in the middle, the Earth behind, watching it unfold. That moment of perfect alignment is called syzygy, a word as mysterious as the event itself. When syzygy occurs during a new moon, and the alignment is precise enough, the moon casts its shadow upon the Earth, and we, standing somewhere inside that shadow, witness the miracle we call a solar eclipse. But not all shadows are created equal. The eclipse is not just light turning off. It is a layered painting of darkness, with edges and gradients and meaning. Let's trace the layers. The umbra, at the very heart of the moon's shadow, is the umbra, a place where the sun is completely obscured. If you are standing in the umbra, you will witness totality, the moment when the sun vanishes completely behind the moon. The sky darkens, the stars emerge, and for just a few minutes, you are cloaked in an alien dusk. The penumbra surrounding the umbra is the penumbra, a softer shadow, where only part of the sun is hidden. Those within the penumbra see a partial eclipse. The sun appears like a crescent, a bite taken from its disk. It is still bright, but noticeably dimmer, cooler, quieter, the antimbra, and in rare cases, when the moon is farther from the earth, it appears smaller in the sky. It cannot block the sun completely, and the result is an annular eclipse, where a ring of sunlight flares around the moon like a fiery halo. This is the antumbra, a zone of eerie beauty, not total darkness, but a brilliant ring called the Ring of Fire. Now imagine this: the moon's shadow is not stationary. It moves fast. The umbra can race across the earth at over 1,700 kilometers per hour, depending on the angles of approach. This shadow draws a narrow path across the planet's surface. A ribbon just 100 to 200 kilometers wide, but thousands of kilometers long. This path is called the path of totality. If you are inside it, you will see the total eclipse. If not, you may only see a partial version, or nothing at all. It's like a cosmic spotlight sweeping across a dark stage. And you have to be standing in just the right place at just the right moment to feel its full intensity. Here's a question that confuses many minds. If the moon orbits the Earth every month, why isn't there a solar eclipse every month? The answer lies in tilt and timing. Remember that 5-degree tilt in the moon's orbit. It causes the moon to usually miss the sun by but twice a year. The moon crosses the sun's path in the sky at points called nodes. When a new moon occurs at the node, we get a solar eclipse. When a full moon occurs at the node, we get a lunar eclipse instead, where the Earth casts a shadow on the moon. It's all about alignment. And that alignment must be extraordinarily precise, which is why eclipses are rare and beautiful. Let us take a moment to reflect. In your body, you contain the dust of stars, atoms forged in the hearts of suns. But in your mind, you carry the language of the universe. A brain evolved not just to survive, but to seek patterns and recognize meaning in the sky. This is why eclipses affect us so deeply. They are not merely shadows. They are celestial synchronizations, like the sudden silence in a piece of music, the part where the orchestra stops just before the crescendo. In the same way, the eclipse pauses the sun. It suspends reality. It reminds you, light is not infinite, and day is not guaranteed. Even the sun must yield to shadow. Not all eclipses are the same. There are 4 main types, each with its own character. 1. Total solar eclipse. The moon fully covers the sun, only visible from the narrow path of totality, the rarest and most dramatic. 2. Partial solar eclipse. The moon covers part of the sun. No complete darkness, but noticeable dimming. 3. Annular solar eclipse. The moon is too far to fully cover the sun. A ring of fire appears around it. 4. Hybrid eclipse. Rare blend. Part of the path sees an annular eclipse, while another part sees a total. 1. A strange and beautiful transition. The 2025 eclipse will be total, and for many, it will be the first and perhaps only time they experience such profound stillness. Now, close your eyes. Imagine the Earth from orbit, blue, spinning, alive, and suddenly, a circular shadow begins to sweep across its surface, like ink dropped onto silk. That's the moon's umbra. It races across deserts, oceans, cities. Mountains rise beneath it, unaware. People gather in parks and rooftops and hills, and all of it orchestrated by three spheres, in motion, suspended in the void. You are not small, you are part of this machinery. You are the witness and the reason. Without your eyes, there is no eclipse, just shadow and math. With you, there is meaning. Let's clear one thing. The eclipse is not a sign, not a prophecy, not a punishment, but that doesn't make it less sacred. The eclipse is a lesson, a breath, a reminder that even the most powerful source of life, the sun, can be humbled by a pebble in space with perfect timing. That timing is not emotional, it is not poetic, it simply is. But we are the ones who add the poetry. And then the moon continues its path. The sun re-emerges, first as a sliver, then a bite, then whole. Light returns. The birds resume their songs. Shadows sharpen. Time resumes, and yet you feel different, as if something unseen passed through you, or perhaps within you. That is the eclipse. Not just a shadow in the sky, but a silence you carry afterward like a secret. Not all darkness is created equal. Some shadows fall quietly across your shoulder in late afternoon. Some flicker beneath trees as the wind moves through leaves, and some, very few, sweep across continents, carving ribbons of darkness through daylight, like a whisper across the fabric of earth. That shadow is coming, and if you know where to stand, you'll see what very few have ever witnessed: a total eclipse. August 12, 2025. A date that is not just on a calendar, but engraved on the sky. Let's walk together now, softly, slowly, along the path the moon will draw across the earth, a path not paved with stone or soil, but shadow and silence. The eclipse has already begun, not in the sky, but in the slow, mathematical breath of prediction. Astronomers have charted its every moment, where the umbra will land, how fast it will move, what time it will arrive, and where it will fade. This isn't guesswork. This is the poetry of precision, because while the moon and earth may seem distant, they dance in rhythm so stable that we can calculate eclipses not just years, but centuries in advance. And what we find is this: the 2025 eclipse will begin its journey over the Pacific Ocean and then touch land, bringing day to its knees, one place at a time. Let us follow the path, as if tracing it gently with our fingertip, across the globe. Mexico, the first witness, the first land to greet the total eclipse, will be the coast of Mexico at sunrise. In the early hours, the moon's shadow will drift across the Pacific and touch the earth near the Baja Peninsula. If you're standing in places like Mazatlan, you may be among the first humans to witness totality. The sun will rise and then begin to vanish. In this golden morning light, the sky will darken, and for several long minutes, the world will forget its daytime. The beaches, the hills, the rooftops, all will fall under shadow time. Approximately 10:39 a.m. local time. Duration of totality, up to 4 minutes, 30 seconds United States. The heart of the eclipse, the moon's shadow, will then enter the United States through southern Texas. Cities like Del Rio, San Antonio, and parts of Austin will sit directly in the path of totality. Farther northeast, the path will touch Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and all the way through to Ohio, New York, and Maine. Each location will experience darkness at slightly different times, but the spectacle will be the same: a sudden quiet, a dimming of color, a wind that feels older than the trees. The stars awakening in daytime in Indianapolis. Totality is expected around 1:50 p.m. in Cleveland. It may come just after 3 p.m. Cities that lie slightly outside this path will witness only a partial eclipse, a magnificent event in itself, but not the full embrace of shadow. For that, you must be inside the path, not near it, not close, inside it, because totality is a borderless country. You are either in it or not. Canada, the last to fall, and Phaedos, the eclipse continues. Northeast, it crosses into Canada, passing through parts of Ontario, Quebec, and Newfoundland. Towns like Montreal will witness near total eclipse. But to truly feel the weight of the shadow, you must step a little further inward into the direct path. By the time it reaches the edge of Newfoundland, the eclipse will begin to fade, slipping back into light as the moon's shadow races back into the Atlantic. The last to see it will watch the sun reappear like a secret returning to the sky. Time is not the same everywhere, and neither is the eclipse, depending on where you are. The eclipse will arrive at a different hour, but here's what you can expect. Key eclipse timings: approximate local times, Mazatlan, Mexico. Partial begins approximately 9:50 a.m. Totality, approximately 10:39 a.m. ends 12:10 p.m. Stone, Texas. Partial begins approximately 12:17 p.m. Totality, approximately 1:36 p.m. ends approximately 2:58 p.m. Indianapolis, Indiana. Partial approximately 1:50 p.m. Totality, approximately 3:06 p.m. ends approximately 4:20 p.m. Buffalo, NY. Totality, approximately 3:18 p.m. Gander, Newfoundland. Totality, approximately 4:42 p.m. Local. Each place will experience a slightly different timeline, but the feeling will be universal. That sense that something ancient has arrived, that you are part of something timed, not by clocks, but by the turning of spheres. Most total eclipses last just a few minutes. The 2025 eclipse, however, will be unusually long. In some areas, especially near the center of the path, totality may last over 4 minutes. Compare that to 2024's eclipse, which was shorter in many regions. The difference may seem small, but in the stillness of totality, every second stretches. 4 minutes under the shadow of the moon can feel like an hour, and when it ends, you'll wish it hadn't. This eclipse will only be total in a narrow band, roughly 100 to 200 kilometers wide. If you're even 30 kilometers outside of it, you'll miss totality. That's why eclipse chasers travel. They move not just to see, but to feel. So if you're planning to witness this rare event, use eclipse maps to find your nearest point of totality. Book early. Hotels and campgrounds along the path are filling quickly. Arrive early. Traffic before major eclipses can become overwhelming. Check the weather. Clouds can erase everything. Choose a place with clear skies, a wide horizon, and as little artificial light as possible. Not for the sun, but for the stars that will greet you in the middle of the day. You don't have to be in totality to experience the eclipse. Even a partial eclipse is worth watching. In cities far from the center line, Los Angeles, Miami, Vancouver, you may still see the sun partially obscured, a sliver missing, a bite taken, a strangeness in the light. But know this, it will not get fully dark. You will not see the corona. You will not hear the silence of totality. And yet, Even that partial glimpse may stir something inside you, because it is a reminder that something larger is at work above us. And maybe next time you'll chase the shadow dot to witness the eclipse. You don't need much, not a telescope, not expensive gear, just your eyes, and a way to protect them. Eclipse glasses, pinhole projectors, filtered telescopes if you have them. But the most important thing you can bring is your attention. Let your phone record it if you must, but don't watch it through a screen, because no video can capture the temperature change, the silence, the way birds grow confused, or how you suddenly feel small and significant at the same time. Watch it with your full self, with your breath, your skin, your AHW. Eclipses are strange things. They feel unreal even as they happen. You'll question your senses. The world will dim in color. Shadows will sharpen. Your heartbeat may quicken. And when the sun vanishes, truly vanishes, you'll understand why ancient peoples thought the world was ending. And in a way, it is, just for a moment, just enough to make you feel like you're standing at the center of the universe. And just as it came, the shadow will leave. The light will return. The warmth will resume. The world will forget what it just saw, but you won't. Because you will carry that shadow with you, not as darkness, but as memory. A silent eclipse etched inside your chest, and maybe, just maybe, you'll look up differently after that, not just with curiosity, but with gratitude for a universe that sometimes goes dark, just to remind us what light truly is. Looking at light, we take it for granted, this golden warmth that falls from above, in its absence. But rarely do we look directly into its face, and for good reason. The sun is not a flame. It is a furnace, a nuclear tempest, 93 million miles away, and yet so powerful it can burn your eyes in seconds. It gives life, but without protection, you may never see clearly again. That is the paradox of an eclipse. It invites you to look and begs you to be careful. Let us now explore how to watch this miracle safely, not out of fear, but out of respect for a light too powerful to touch unguarded. Your eyes are not built for solar fire. Inside each eye is a retina, a delicate sheet of light-sensitive cells, rods for shadows, cones for color. These cells cannot feel pain. They won't scream when damaged. It's not just brightness, it's radiation, and it doesn't bounce off. It burns in. The result? A condition called solar retinopathy, a painless, irreversible injury that may leave a dark hole at the center of your vision. That's why even a partially obscured sun can be more dangerous than a full one. During an eclipse, the light dims, but not the danger, so we must learn how to see without harm. Here's what makes eclipses tricky. As the moon begins to cover the sun, the sky dims. The temperature drops, but this is the illusion. The sun's visible light may dim, but it's invisible. Radiation does not, and your pupils, they dilate, they open wider in the low light, inviting even more harmful rays in dot. So never assume safety based on how it looks. Brightness is not the measure. Intensity is dot, and during a partial eclipse, the sun is still powerful enough to leave a lasting scar on your vision. So what can you use? 1. Eclipse glasses, the simplest, most essential tool. These are not sunglasses. Even the darkest regular lenses won't protect you. Eclipse glasses are built with a specialized filter that blocks 99.999% a visible light, and almost all ultraviolet and infrared radiation. They make the sun appear as a small, faint disk, just bright enough to see, but not enough to harm, always. Ensure your glasses are ISO 12312 to 2 certified, free of scratches, punctures, or peeling, from a trusted Eclipse vendor. Inspect them before use. If you see even the slightest damage, discard them, because with sunlight, imperfection means risk. 2. Pinhole. Projectors want a safer, hands-on experience. Make a pinhole viewer. All you need is a piece of cardboard, a tiny hole punched with a pina-second surface paper. Wall or sidewalk stand with your back to the sun. Hold the cardboard high and let the light pass through the pinhole onto the surface. Below, you'll see the eclipse indirectly, a soft crescent shadow growing thinner and thinner as totality approaches. It's like watching a shadow paint the sky. Safe, simple, magical. 3. Solar filters for telescopes and binoculars. If you're using magnified lenses, your risk increases exponentially. Ever look through a telescope or binoculars at the sun without a certified solar filter? Without it, the concentrated sunlight can burn through protective glasses and through your retina in milliseconds. Filters must be placed in front of the lens, never behind. Even if you're not looking directly, the heat can destroy your optics. Let your tools be as careful as your eyes. Pour welder's glass with caution only if you already have number 14 shade or darker. Anything lighter is unsafe. Even here, Eclipse glasses are more reliable, better to watch clearly than to risk never watching again. There is one moment when the sun becomes safe to look at, without filters or glasses. It is the brief, fleeting moment of totality, when the moon covers the sun completely and no direct solar rays remain. You may remove your glasses, and what you'll see is unlike anything else in the world. The solar corona, wisps of plasma, dancing in space, twisting like ghostly fire around a hole where the sun used to be. The sky turns indigo, planets appear, the temperature drops, and time feels like it's been slowed by some unseen hand. But beware, the instant the sun re-emerges, your glasses must be back on before the light returns. Do not guess. Do not gamble. Let your safety be as awe-filled as your. It's about reverence. Think of it like entering a temple. You remove your shoes, you quiet your voice, you slow your breath. Watching the eclipse safely is not a burden. 2. See what your ancestors once feared and what your descendants may never know. This is not just an event. It is an alignment of orbits, of centuries, of your eyes and the cosmos. Honor it, prepare for it, and share it. Let's say it plainly. Don't look through your phone or camera without a solar filter. The lens will concentrate sunlight, just like binoculars. It can burn your sensor and your retina, too. Don't trust DIY filters unless they're certified. CDs, smoked glass, sunglasses, even stacked, are not enough. Don't assume you can peek quickly. Damage can occur in less than 1 second. Don't forget your children. If you're with kids, be extra cautious. Show them how to view properly and stay near. This is not fear. This is respect. The sun is the source of all life. It deserves our attention and our caution. Now that we've been cautious, let us ask the deeper question. Why is it worth all this effort? Why travel, prepare, protect, rehearse, Because an eclipse is not just rare, it is transformative. When the sun disappears behind the moon, something changes in you. You feel the presence of forces older than language. You feel placed, older than stories. It resets something in the heart, and when the light returns, or the maps, you'll remember the stillness, the hush, the breath held in your lungs, the faint pink of the chromosphere, the corona dancing like silk, the moment you and the moon shared a secret, and you'll remember how the world grew dim, and how, for a few holy minutes, you saw the light, not with your eyes, but with your soul, long before equations, before clocks, before even the word eclipse had meaning. There were shadows that moved across the sun, and the people of Earth, primitive yet aware, looked up and saw their world change. The sky darkened, the animals panicked, the winds fell still. The gods, they thought, were speaking, because what else could it be? The sun, eternal, immortal, unchanging, swallowed whole by something unseen. It was not a spectacle. It was a reckoning, and so begins our journey through the eclipses that shaped belief, rewrote the stars, and reminded humanity that even daylight has secrets. Our story begins in ancient China. Nearly 4,000 years ago, two royal astronomers, Shi and Ho, were tasked with one duty: to predict the eclipse. But they failed. When the sun disappeared unexpectedly, the emperor's court erupted in fear. Drums beat, people screamed, warriors shot arrows into the sky to scare away the celestial beast, and when the sun returned, as it always does, it was not seen as nature. Eclipse wasn't just a phenomenon, it was power. Now we cross to ancient Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. Two mighty armies, those of the Lydians and the Medes, had been at war for 5 years. Spears clashed, blood stained the rivers. The gods of both sides were called upon endlessly, and then, during one decisive battle, in the full brightness of afternoon, the sky went dark. The soldiers froze. The sun, once the watcher of war, was gone. A black circle burned in its place. Both sides dropped their weapons. Terror gave way to silence, and that day peace was declared. Historians believe the eclipse that halted the war was the eclipse of Thales, possibly predicted by the Greek philosopher, but to the soldiers it needed no name, only meaning. War had failed. The sky had intervened. The sky had intervened. Across the centuries, the eclipse has appeared in myth, in scripture, and in sacred memory. One of the most referenced moments comes from the New Testament at the crucifixion of Christ. It is written, "From the 6th hour to the 9th, darkness fell over all the land." Some historians wonder, was this darkness a poetic symbol or a literal eclipse? Astronomical records show that a solar eclipse occurred around 29 to 33 CE, visible in parts of the Middle East. If it was an eclipse, it marked not just a moment of sorrow, but a cosmic sign that even heaven mourns, whether myth or shadow. The eclipse has always stood at the edge of human understanding, as a veil between the physical and divine. In France, King Louis the Pious, son of Charlemagne, was a man deeply moved by omens. One morning, a solar eclipse darkened the land. Louis, already burdened by unrest and betrayal, took it as a sign, a heavenly rebuke. He refused to eat, refused to speak, fell into despair, and days later he died. In those times, a ruler's fate was believed written in the stars, and an eclipse so rare, so mysterious, was read like a celestial judgment. In truth, the eclipse did not kill him, but it reminded a king that no crown can outshine the sky. Fast forward to the 20th century. The world is no longer ruled by superstition, but by science. Still, the eclipse remained a key, because in 1919, during a total solar eclipse over West Africa and Brazil, British astronomer Arthur Eddington set out to test a radical theory, Einstein's theory of general relativity. If Einstein was right, then gravity didn't just pull, it bent space itself, and starlight, passing near the sun, would curve around it. But how could one see stars near the blazing sun? Only during a total eclipse, when the sun's disk is hidden and the stars near its edge become visible. Eddington single quotes as photos confirmed it. The stars had shifted. Einstein was right. The universe, it turned out, was made of curves and warps, not just points and lines. And so, in the darkness of the eclipse, light itself told the truth. In July of 1991, one of the longest total eclipses in centuries swept across Mexico, Central America, and South America. Totality in some places lasted 6 minutes and 53 seconds, an eternity for those watching. For a generation of eclipse chasers, this was a defining moment. Children saw their first corona, scientists gathered with advanced tools, and across cities, millions looked upward together. It wasn't war, it wasn't fear, it was celebration. The eclipse had finally become a shared moment of awe, free of omen, full of wonder. In August 2017, another moment arrived. For the first time in nearly a century, a total eclipse crossed the entire United States, from Oregon to South Carolina. It was dubbed the Great American Eclipse. Traffic halted on highways. People stood on rooftops and mountaintops. Children gasped. Elders wept. It lasted only minutes, but it united millions in silence. The next eclipse, they knew, wouldn't come soon. Not like this. And so, many made vows to chase the next one, to never miss the shadow again. Those vows bring us to now, to 22/5. And so here we stand, on the edge of another cosmic alignment. You, me, everyone who listens to the rhythm of space. We are not so different from the soldiers in Anatolia, the astronomers in China, the poets and priests and scientists who came before. We are still trying to understand why the shadow moves us, why the light's disappearance feels like a secret revealed, and why, even now, we pause our lives to watch the sky fall quiet in 2025. You will join a long lineage, not of observers, but of witnesses. What will you do with the shadow you see? Will you forget it the next day, or will you carry it like an ancient seed planted in the quietest part of your mind? Because history is not just in books, it lives in you, in your awe, in the silence you feel when the sun disappears and stars come out at noon. The next eclipse may come, or it may not reach you, but this one, this 2025 alignment, is yours. Watch it like a messenger, honor it like a memory, hold it like the echo of every eclipse that ever passed before your time. There's a strange thing that happens when the light disappears. Not a switch, not a storm, but a slow unraveling of the familiar. And though your eyes witness the eclipse, it is your body that reacts first. You may not notice it at once. The shift in your skin, the change in your pulse, the rise of some forgotten instinct. But beneath the surface, your biology is listening to the light. Because when the sun is swallowed, your body remembers something ancient, something older than language. It remembers the fear of night arriving too soon. Your body runs on a clock, not the one on your wrist, but a deeper rhythm, a system called the circadian cycle, tuned to sunlight, a 24-hour dance of hormones, sleep, hunger, and mood. And suddenly, during an eclipse, that rhythm stumbles, light fades, temperature drops. Birds return to their nests, nocturnal creatures stir, and your brain pauses. It whispers, "Wait, is it time to sleep?" Your pineal gland begins to release melatonin, the sleep hormone, just a trickle, just enough to soften your edges. Calm. You feel slow. You feel like you're drifting through a memory that doesn't belong to you, because, in a way, you are. Your pupils, like tiny dark mirrors, respond faster than thought. When the eclipse begins, your pupils dilate, trying to let in more light. But this dilation also changes what you see. Shadows sharpen, color fades. The world becomes more monochrome, more dreamlike. It's not just psychological, it's physical. The light is changing, and your eyes are adjusting, not for comfort, but for survival. The same reflex that once helped our ancestors hunt at dusk or hide at night is now activated by the moon's passing shadow. Your body doesn't know it's an eclipse. It only knows day has become something else as totality approaches. The warmth of the sun begins to vanish. It's not imagination. The temperature can drop by as much as 10 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 degrees Celsius, within minutes. Your skin, an ancient sensor net, detects this change immediately. It tightens. Goosebumps rise, not from cold, but from confusion. Animals pause. Insects fall silent. Even flowers close their petals, as if night has arrived early. This isn't just an astronomical event. It's a full-body illusion, and your nervous system falls for it completely. And then comes the moment. The sky darkens. The corona appears, and your heart responds. Studies show that during eclipses, many people experience a rise in heart rate, not from fear, but from something deeper, awe, that rare, whole-body sensation that comes when you witness something vast, beautiful, and impossible to explain. Your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight part, activates slightly, not in panic, but in presence. You become alert, still, quiet. Your body enters a state science calls physiological arousal, but poets call it wonder. In recent years, scientists have begun studying awe as a measurable phenomenon. They place people in fMRI machines, show them vast images, mountains, galaxies, eclipses, and observe what lights up in the brain. And here's what they find. The default mode network, the part that thinks about yourself, goes quiet. The parietal lobe, responsible for boundaries between you and not you, softens. The brain shifts from ego to eco. In awe, you feel smaller, but not less. You feel part of something, held by something, temporarily released from the weight of being individual. It's not a trick. It's not philosophy. It's biology. Eclipses, it seems, reshape the architecture of awareness. People remember where they were when they saw an eclipse, not vaguely, but precisely. The field, the rooftop, the quiet crowd around them, the way the air felt. This is called a flashbulb memory, a vivid, emotionally charged imprint burned into the hippocampus, like the memory of your first kiss, or the day you lost someone. the brain registers these moments as sacred, because something in you knows this doesn't happen often. This matters. And so, the eclipse becomes not just a visual event, but a permanent layer in your mental sky. There's another strange thing that happens when thousands of people watch an eclipse together, whether in silence or celebration. Their nervous systems begin to synchronize. Studies of concerts, rituals, and even eclipse viewings have shown that heart rates, eye movements, and even breathing can align across groups. It's called group physiological synchrony. The eclipse doesn't just affect you, it links you to everyone around you. A collective hush, a shared intake of breath, a unity, not in belief, but in biology. We are, quite literally, moved by the same darkness at the same time, and perhaps that's the closest thing to communion the sky can offer. Some people cry when they see a total eclipse, not from sadness, not from fear, but from something unnameable, but the slow disappearance of the sun, the emergence of the stars, the brief silence of the world, and the overwhelming presence of the infinite. It becomes too much for the mind to hold, and so the heart holds it instead, with tears. This is not weakness, it is not dramatics, it is the overflow of being human in the presence of something that will not fit inside a thought. It pours out of the eyes, because the soul has no other door. And then the light returns, like a breath released. Birdsong resumes. The air warms. The world steps back into rhythm. But you feel altered, not in a way you can explain, but in the softening behind your eyes, the loosened grip of your thoughts, the sense that something has opened, even if you don't know what you are. Not enlightened, you are not transformed, but you have seen what your ancestors saw. You have stood where ancient feet once trembled. You have felt what your body was designed to feel only once in a while, and that feeling, it lingers, it echoes, it stays with you long after the shadow has passed. Look at the sky. Now hold out your thumb, close one eye, and with the smallest movement, your thumb can block out the moon. This trick of scale feels like play, a child's game with light and distance. But now reverse it. Once in a while, the moon, in its silent orbit, moves just perfectly between you and the sun, and it fits exactly, not too small, not too large, just large enough to cover the face of the sun to the edge, but no more. And for a few fleeting minutes, the universe balances on a knife's edge. This is not design. It is not destiny. It is coincidence, but one so perfect, so mathematically delicate, that it feels like the universe left us a hidden message in the sky. Let us explore it. This impossible alignment of distance, size, and light. Let's see what it took to make an eclipse possible. The moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun, but the sun is also about 400 times farther away, and so, from Earth, they appear almost exactly the same size in the sky, about 0.5 degrees in angular diameter. This is the cosmic coincidence. If the moon were slightly smaller, we'd see annular eclipses, a ring of fire, but never full darkness. If it were slightly larger, it would blot out not just the sun, but also the corona, the soft, glowing atmosphere that makes totality so breathtaking. But it's not. It's just right. And that just right only happens to be true here, on Earth. Imagine standing on Mars. The moons there, Phobos and Deimos, are too small to cover the sun completely. So eclipses on Mars are not total. They're brief blips, tiny shadows, like the blink of a cosmic eye, or Jupiter with dozens of moons. Some cause eclipses, but they are different, longer, wider, with no observers to watch them. Here on Earth, our moon is large, and our sun is far, and somehow, just somehow, the ratios align. You could live 1,000 lifetimes on other planets and never see what Earth shows you in a few minutes of darkness in the solar system. Earth is the only place where perfect total solar eclipses occur just like this. That makes every eclipse not just rare, but deeply personal. To make an eclipse, the moon doesn't just need the right size, it needs the right position. The moon orbits Earth once every 27.3 days, but its orbit is tilted about 5 degrees off from Earth's orbit around the sun. So most of the time, the moon passes above or below the sun in our sky, but about 2 to 5 times a year the orbits line up. This moment is called a syzygy, when the Earth, moon, and sun form a straight line. If this alignment happens during a new moon, we get a solar eclipse. But not all solar eclipses are total. Sometimes the moon is farther from Earth, and it appears too small to cover the sun fully. Then we see an annular eclipse, a ring, a breath away from darkness. But when the moon is close and the line is perfect, we get a total eclipse. This alignment may last just a few minutes, but it takes billions of years of motion to get it just so. Here's something few people know. Eclipses are temporary, not just in the sky, but in history. The moon is drifting away from Earth about 3.8 centimeters per year. It doesn't sound like much, but over time it adds up. Millions of years from now, the moon will be too far to fully cover the sun. Total solar eclipses will become annular, and then, eventually, they will vanish altogether. We are living in a narrow window of time where perfect total eclipses are possible. Think about that. In the 4.5 billion year lifespan of Earth, humans just happen to be alive in the slice of time when this cosmic trick is still happening. You are not only alive, you are timed perfectly. The moon has always been our teacher. Its tides shape our oceans. Its cycles influenced ancient calendars. Its glow has guided migrations, harvests, rituals, and dreams. But during an eclipse, the moon does something else. It reveals the sun. Strange, isn't it? That covering the sun lets us see its most mysterious part, the corona. It's only when the blinding face is hidden that the halo appears, like putting your hand in front of a flashlight to see the outline. The moon, by blocking, unveils. There's a metaphor here, one that belongs not just to astronomy, but to life. Sometimes we see the most when something gets in the way. All across the world, cultures have watched the moon consume the sun and wondered, what is it? A beast, a god, a lover, a thief. In India, eclipses were once seen as a demon, Rahu, swallowing the sun. In China, it was a dragon. In Viking lore, a wolf. In Mesoamerica, it was often a sign of cosmic battle. Some saw the moon as jealous, others as a guardian. Some feared it, some prayed to it, and always it returned the light. In these stories, we see ourselves trying to make meaning from alignment and shadow. The moon became more than rock. It became metaphor, and even now, with science in hand, we still feel that. Pull. Not to believe the old stories, but to understand why we needed them. The moon has no atmosphere, no weather, no sound. It is silent, utterly, permanently quiet. And yet, it shapes our planet. It holds the tides in rhythm. It slows Earth's rotation. It stabilizes our tilt. It may have even made life possible by keeping our climate from spinning wildly. Without the moon, the Earth would wobble, the oceans would drift, the seasons would be chaotic, and eclipses, they'd never happen. So the moon, silent as it is, may be our most faithful companion, always watching, always turning, always waiting for the right moment to cast its shadow just perfectly across our lives. One day soon, you will stand beneath the sky and see the moon do its work. You will watch it move, slowly, invisibly, until it touches the edge of the sun and begins the slow erasure. You will feel the world dim. You will feel yourself grow still. And in that moment, you will understand how much is required to make this happen. The math, the distance, the gravity, the silence, the coincidence. And you will not feel small. You will feel chosen, because the moon, for a few minutes, has chosen Earth, and Earth has chosen you to watch. It didn't have to be this way. The moon could have been smaller. The sun could have been closer. The orbits could have missed, and yet they didn't. So the next time someone says, it's just a coincidence, remember, so is this. This eclipse, this perfect shadow, this delicate, silent, moving miracle. And you are here for it, not to understand everything, not to control it, just to look, to feel, to let the moon teach you what it means to stand in the right place at the right time and see the light disappear. Long before science, there was story. The sun was a god, the moon a spirit, the stars ancestral eyes watching the earth in silence. And when the sun disappeared in daytime, it wasn't just a shadow. It was a message, a punishment, a warning, a whisper from the heavens. Humans didn't fear the dark. They feared the intent behind it, because nothing normal ever blots out the sun. In ancient China, eclipses were not just natural events. They were moments of cosmic imbalance. They believed a giant celestial dragon was swallowing the sun. People would bang drums, set off fireworks, and shoot arrows into the sky, not to watch, but to save the sun. Even emperors reacted with fear. They saw eclipses as divine judgment against poor leadership. Solar records from China go back over 3,000 years with astonishing precision. Because knowing when the dragon would strike was a matter of state survival. Astronomy and mythology were not separate. They were one story. In Hindu mythology, the story goes like this. Long ago, the gods and demons fought over the nectar of immortality. A demon named Rahu disguised himself as a god and drank the elixir. But he was discovered. Vishnu beheaded him. Yet, the elixir had already reached his throat, so Rahu lived on. Just ahead, vengeful and eternal. He now chases the sun and moon across the sky. And when he catches them, he swallows them in fury. An eclipse, then, is Rahu's temporary victory. But the sun and moon always escape, slipping through his necklace form. Even today, in parts of India, people fast during an eclipse, purify their homes, and pray. Because the cosmos is not just science, it is karma, and balance must be restored. To the Norse, the sun and moon were chased through the sky by two giant wolves, Skull and Hati. when an eclipse happened. It meant one of the wolves had caught its prey. They believed the world would end when both the sun and moon were devoured completely. This prophecy was called Regat, a great battle where even the gods would fall. So when the sky darkened, the people trembled. The wolves were hungry, and time was running out. They'd bang shields, shout, howl, trying to scare the beasts away. And when the sun returned, they rejoiced. Not just because light was back, but because the end had been delayed. In the Maya and Aztec worlds, the cosmos was built on sacrifice. The gods had given their own blood to set the sun in motion, so it was the duty of humans to repay them regularly. Ritually. When an eclipse occurred, it wasn't a surprise. It was an alarm, a sign that more blood was needed. The Aztecs believed the world had gone through several ages, and in each the sun had been destroyed. So an eclipse wasn't rare. It was potentially final. Human sacrifice often followed to feed the sun and keep it alive. It's difficult, from our modern view, to imagine such acts, but in their minds, it was not cruelty. It was duty, because the sky had spoken, and it demanded something in return. The Greeks were among the first to blend myth with math. Aristotle wrote about the Earth's shadow on the moon. Hipparchus used eclipses to measure distances in the cosmos. And yet, even in rational Athens, eclipses were feared. They were seen as bad omens, warnings before wars, or signs of plague. In Thucydides' account of the Peloponnesian War, soldiers delayed battle because of an eclipse. To them, the sky was a scroll, and the gods wrote in shadow. Even Columbus, centuries later, used his knowledge of eclipses to manipulate Caribbean tribes. Pretending to steal the moon and demanding supplies, he turned astronomy into a weapon. Because even then, the old stories still had power. Across Africa, eclipse traditions vary like stars in the night. In the Batamaliba tribe of Benin and Togo, an eclipse meant the sun and moon were fighting, and it was humanity's role to help them make peace. Villages would hold reconciliation ceremonies, mending feuds, forgiving debts, restoring balance under the shadow. In Namibia, some tribes viewed the eclipse as a cleansing, a moment to reflect, to pause. Not all myths were about terror. Some were about harmony. The sky, they believed, was not angry. It was asking us to realign ourselves with each other. Perhaps they understood more than we did. Not all meaning lives. In ritual, eclipses have haunted our dreams, whispered through our poetry, and painted themselves into our art. In Shakespeare's plays, eclipses precede madness and murder. In Japanese ukiyo-e, artists captured the sky as a moment of floating beauty, both still and surreal. Painters from Turner to Dali used eclipses as metaphors for grief, mystery, and revelation. Even in modern film, eclipses mark the turning point, a crack in reality, because something in us still believes that when the light vanishes, truth appears. We now understand what causes eclipses. We know the orbital mechanics. We can predict them to the second. We can model their shadows across the continents. And yet, we still pause. We still gather. I still cry, still whisper. I still feel that chill when the moon begins its slow erasure of the sun. Science did not remove the mystery. It deepened it. Because now we don't just know how it happens. We know how rare it is, how precise, how improbable. And that improbability feels sacred. It tells us, even in a universe of numbers, there is still wonder. A myth is not a lie. It is a language, a way for humans to speak of what they feel when language is too small. The eclipse is not a dragon, or a demon, or a prophecy, but it is darkness, it is change, it is death and rebirth, and that's why it shows up again and again. In every culture, on every continent, in every era, it reflects us. It reminds us that we fear what we can't control, and we love what is beautiful, even when it vanishes. Especially when it vanishes, you carry your own shadows, times when things go dark, moments of confusion, loss, silence, but like the sun, you are never fully gone. The eclipse teaches this, that darkness is a passage, not an ending. The corona, the hidden glow, only appears when the brightness is blocked. Sometimes your best light is only visible when everything else falls away. And so the myths were not wrong, they just spoke in symbols. And now you know. You are part of that story too. There is a quiet tribe on Earth whose members do not share land, language, or flag. They do not meet often, but when they do, they stand in silence beneath a blackened sky. They are eclipse chasers. Some call them scientists, others call them wanderers, dreamers, even mad. But ask any one of them, and they'll tell you the same thing. It's worth everything to be under the shadow when the stars come out at noon. They don't chase light. They chase the moment the light disappears, and in that moment, they find something they can't describe in words. Each total solar eclipse casts a narrow ribbon of shadow across the Earth. This band, called the path of totality, is usually no more than 100 to 160 kilometers wide. It stretches across continents, oceans, and skies, a moving footprint of the moon's perfect alignment. Totality only lasts a few minutes, but for eclipse chasers, those minutes are everything. They plan years in advance, studying weather patterns, satellite images, longitude, latitude, elevation. They pack telescopes, solar filters, cameras, journals. Some bring nothing, just themselves. And the sky. They follow the path through deserts, mountaintops, cruise ships, and frozen tundra. They rearrange their lives to be where the shadow falls. Ask an eclipse chaser about their first total eclipse, and you'll see something shift. In their voice, they will tell you exactly where they were, exactly what the sky looked like, exactly how they felt when the temperature dropped and the world went still. They will say, "I didn't expect to cry," or "It felt like the earth stopped." One person described it as watching the universe blink. Another said, "It was the closest I've ever come to touching God." And from that moment on, they were no longer just observers. They were followers of the shadow. Not all eclipse chasers are astronomers, but many are, because during totality, the moon becomes a tool, a natural solar filter. It allows scientists to study the sun's corona, its magnetic field, and solar flares that are invisible at other times. But others come not for data, but for devotion. Photographers wait for that perfect shot, the diamond ring flash of light, just before totality begins. Poets carry notebooks. Parents carry children. Elders carry memories of the last time they stood beneath that strange daylight dusk. Each person comes for a different reason, but they all come for the same thing, to feel something larger than themselves. Total solar eclipses bring more than shadow. they bring people. And with people comes economy in towns along the eclipse path. Populations can swell 5x or more. Hotels book out years in advance. Airbnbs triple in price. Farmers rent out fields. Entire festivals are built around a few minutes of darkness. In 2017, the Great American Eclipse brought an estimated 200 million viewers. Music, shirts, glasses, parades. Others, wary of the crowds, close roads and schools. But one thing is clear: an eclipse is no longer just a celestial event, it is a pilgrimage. Some chasers don't want to risk a cloud, so they take to the skies. NASA has used high-altitude aircraft to chase the eclipse's shadow, extending totality by flying with the moon's path at supersonic speed. In 1973, Concorde jetliners gave scientists 74 minutes of totality by flying along the eclipse path over Africa. Others launch weather balloons, capturing data from the stratosphere, or they sail cruise ships built for the purpose, tracking the eclipse across oceans, free from light pollution. In 2025, similar expeditions will occur again, floating, flying, climbing toward darkness, because for many, the view is worth anything. Every eclipse has a villain. The cloud, it can ruin years of planning in an instant. So chasers study meteorology like religion. They examine jet stream shifts, mountain range, shadows, humidity zones, dry corridors, historical cloud cover maps. They even relocate the night before based on last-minute forecasts. In some cases, they fail. But even those who miss the moment tend to return for the next, because missing one only sharpens the hunger for the next. There's something ancient in what these chasers do. They wake early. They gather silently. How digital their lives. They become primitive in awe, like the shamans, priests, and watchers of old. They watch the sky for signs, but they come not in fear, but in reverence. They know the eclipse isn't magic, and yet they treat it like something holy. Why do they do it? Why spend thousands, travel thousands of miles, risk disappointment for a few minutes? Because awe is addictive. Psychologists now recognize it as a unique mental state, a kind of cognitive reset that humbles the ego and expands perspective. Eclipse chasers describe the days after an eclipse as strangely quiet, dimmed, like the world lost a color. And so they begin planning again, the next shadow, the next country, the next chance to stand at the edge of the impossible. They are not running from life. They are running toward wonder. Perhaps you are one of them. Or perhaps you will become one. You may not know it yet. You may be planning to watch the 2025 eclipse from your backyard or a hill nearby. But when that moment comes, when the world goes silent, when the sun becomes a ghost of fire, when your breath catches and you feel time pause, you may understand, you may feel the pull, and then you may begin to wonder, where will I go for the next one? And just like that, you'll have joined the cult, not of fear, not of faith, but of feeling, of presence, of sky, of chasing the one moment when the world reminds you how beautiful it is just to be here. Welcome to the quiet cosmos, a space where science breathes slowly, where wonder is allowed to stretch out beneath the stars. If you're here, you're likely a dreamer, a sky watcher, someone who still believes that the universe has secrets worth chasing. Today, we bring you everything you need to know about the upcoming 2025 total solar eclipse. Not just the where and when, but why does it matters. Not just how to watch, but how to feel. So, exhale, lean back, and let's take the journey together. On Monday, April 8th, 2025, a shadow will move across Earth, slowly, quietly, like the soft closing of an eyelid. The moon, in perfect alignment, will pass in front of the sun, casting a narrow band of darkness across parts of Mexico, the United States, and Canada. It will begin in the Pacific Ocean, touching land near Mazatlan, Mexico, and sweep northeast through Texas, Arkansas, Indiana, Ohio, New York, into eastern Canada, and out through Newfoundland. That narrow track, called the Path of Totality, is where the sun will disappear completely for up to 4 minutes and 28 seconds. Outside this path, you'll still see a partial eclipse, but only within totality will the day become twilight. The stars peek out, and the sun's corona appear like a soft, radiant crown. Here's a simple way to think of it. Mexico. Totality begins around 11:07 a.m. Local Texas, for example. San Antonio, around 1:33 p.m. CDT, Arkansas, between 1:45 p.m. to 1:55 p.m. to 1:55 p.m. Ohio, roughly 3 p.m. EDT. New York State, around 3:20 p.m. to 3:25 p.m. Montreal, Eastern Canada, 3:30 p.m. to 3:40 p.m. Newfoundland, just before 5 p.m. NDT. Exact timing depends on your location. Many apps like Time and Date, Eclipse Guide, or NASA's Eclipse Explorer can give you minute-by-minute predictions for your exact coordinates. But what matters most? That you're ready, settled, and present. This is crucial. The sun may be beautiful, but it is dangerous to look at directly. So here's what you'll need. 1. Eclipse glasses certified to meet ISO 12312 to 2 standards. Never look at the sun without them except during totality itself. 2. Pinhole projector or solar viewer for a DIY method. Use a cereal box or 2 pieces of paper. The sun casts crescent shapes through tree leaves to watch the shadows. 3. Binoculars, telescopes with solar filters. Do not look through any lens without a proper solar filter. You can permanently damage your eyes in seconds. 4. When it's safe to look without protection only during totality. The 100% eclipse. You'll know. The sky dims, the sun vanishes, the corona flares, the moment the bright edge reappears. Look away, or put glasses back on. Never use sunglasses, smoked glass, CDs, or tinted film. They do not protect your eyes. This is not to scare you. It's to help you watch with clarity and come away with memory, not regret. Let's slow down. Here's what it will feel like before totality. The sun looks like a bite is taken out of it. The light becomes silvery. Strange shadows sharpen the air. Cool animals grow. Quiet birds return to roost. You may feel your heartbeat just before ripple of silence. Venus may appear. Last bright bead of sunlight. The diamond ring effect. And then totality. The world dims. The sun becomes a black disk. The corona bursts into view. People gasp, cry, go still. It feels ancient. After the sun returns, warmth comes back. The crowd exhales, and you may not speak for a while. Just a place in the path. You can travel to a city in the line. Austin, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Buffalo, Montreal. Join an organized viewing event. Many observatories, parks, and universities will host them more. Head to a quiet field or open hill, anywhere. With clear skies and a wide view, some people hike, some camps, some just sit on folding chairs and listen to the birds go silent. The setting is not what makes it magical, it's your presence in it. Weather is the wild card to reduce your risk of cloud cover. Stay mobile, if possible. Watch weather reports in the week before. Consider dry inland areas, for example, central Texas, Arkansas, or parts of Mexico. Avoid coastlines and mountains where weather shifts quickly. But remember, even if clouds come, even if you miss totality's full glory, you're still part of something rare. You showed up, and sometimes that's enough. What is it, really, that pulls millions of people to stand still for 3 minutes beneath a vanishing sun? It's not just the light, or the science, or the spectacle. It's the reminder that you are on a planet, spinning, moving, alive, that you live in a cosmos where math creates miracles, where time and gravity align to give you a perfect, fleeting shadow every 100 years or so, that you are small, yes, but also invited. Invited to witness something you did not make, cannot hold, but can feel so deeply it brings tears. It's not just a solar eclipse, it's you, standing in the middle of time, looking up into forever. Once it's over, you may find it hard to talk. Many do. You may feel a gentle grief, like something beautiful left too quickly. Or you may feel energized, awake in a new way. This is Eclipse Afterglow. It fades slowly, so be gentle. Take a walk, journal, sit with what you saw, because what you witnessed was real, rare, and just for you. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with the quiet cosmos. If this brought you calm, clarity, or curiosity, please consider subscribing, so you can return here whenever the night feels long and the questions too big. We'll be waiting. Beneath the stars, within the silence, beside the science. Until next time, keep looking up. And when the shadow comes, let it teach you how much light you really carry.